Hey, welcome to another episode of Friday Off Screen with Deepa and Jiju.
Hello.
Hey, we are just slipping into the weekend. Hope everyone had a nice week this time. So Deepu,
Yeah.
what do we want to pick up for our discussion today?
So I was thinking we just watched Pathaan movie.
Yay! We were
Shouts.
lucky enough to watch Pathaan in Amsterdam.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought there was a lot of things that I wanted to speak and I wanted to ask you as well.
Right.
So
So
we
is it a movie review?
No, it is not.
So
a
are we
movie
doing
review at
movie
all.
reviews on Friday off screen
No,
now?
it is not anything about a movie review.
Uh-huh.
It is about it's behind the camera. It's
Ah,
behind
okay.
the scenes. So
Okay.
I thought that might
So
be
you
more
have some
interesting.
secret footage
Oh no.
of
I wish.
Shah Rukh.
No, I wish.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to business. Yeah.
Yeah, so we watched Pathaan movie. I just
Right.
wanted to know how do you feel about what were your thoughts or takeaways from the movie?
Yeah, I think when we went to the movie, maybe it was initiated by me. At times watching a movie, is about connecting, with your culture
Right.
for me significantly, and I think that's one of the reasons why, if given an option, I would always prefer to watch a Malayalam movie, right? Because movie is a form of entertainment where you significantly connect with your culture,
Right,
right?
right.
The language that it speaks, the visuals that it speaks, is very cultural in nature, in the context. So sitting here in Amsterdam, the opportunity to see an Indian movie, I think
Right.
that's one of the reasons why I went for Pathaan. But I was not enthusiastic about the fact that it's gonna be a artistically satisfying movie or a creatively satisfying
Right.
movie.
We more or less knew what we are getting into.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons also was that it had significantly very positive word of mouth, right? Even from typical critics, who kind of pan movies, these kind of movies. Anyways, so my perception after watching the movie was up to that expectation. So I felt that it was a pretty well-made commercial movie.
Okay.
You had good-looking actors and actresses in it. You had a lot of action.
Right.
I felt that the plot was a bit
Complicated.
convoluted. A lot of things happened. A lot of things that didn't fit your logic happened.
Right.
So a typical commercial action entertainer by a superstar. That's
By
what I
multi
would say.
superstars. Right?
By multiple stars.
Yeah.
What about you? How was your?
So I'm not a mainstream cinema lover, like
Right.
a commercial mainstream cinema lover.
Uh-huh.
And after watching the trailer, I was definitely biased. But I told myself very clearly before going to the movie that I took away my one part of the brain and put it in home, logged it up, forgot the password, and went to the movie.
Right.
It was like blank slate. I just
Okay.
started with blank slate, no expectations, nothing. So I watched it. Well, as you rightly said, I also felt that it is what is expected, right? Although in that as well, lot of things happened. It could have been a couple of things could have been slightly mellowed down, or we heard people laughing for certain action sequences.
Right.
Anyways, so I felt that it's beyond what it could actually could have been. Just to make it a little bit a notch lower,
Okay.
could have been slightly better.
Okay.
However, it appealed to a large crowd.
Yeah.
So and the facts and figures show that the majority liked it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that speaks for it, right?
Yeah.
So that really spoke for it.
Yeah.
Not a personal fan, but that's what is trying to sell.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that pretty well sums it up. I think both of us had very similar experiences, right? Okay, so but that I think also got me thinking that a movie like Pathaan, For me, it seemed to follow a template that I've seen in a number of other movies.
Yes.
Right? It's a typical action, movie with a hero who does extremely challenging, extremely superhuman to so-called superhuman kind of action, scenes. Right? So we've seen that, in a number of other movies as well.
We saw that similar format was in Simba, in Indian movies, in Ek Tha Tiger series, in Dawn series, for example.
Exactly.
And then if you go to Hollywood, it's in like Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise movies. I mean, they all had almost, including the woman, character, which asserts sometimes, or which plays, which is dubious this side or that side. So it was actually template and even the exact formula. So
exactly, and that also, like, for example, I think, if you look at and all these movies that you mentioned, they are box office blockbusters, smashing box office hits. And it's interesting that they seem to follow a certain template. I mean, you have a strong hero, then you have a strong villain, you have some action sequences that happen. So it's very interesting that they kind of follow the same sequence. What are your thoughts on that?
So I was very intrigued. So my point of introspecting, diving deep into the topic was RRR. When RRR has actually won, I watched that movie. To me, it was extremely loud. Although I marked it into a fictional genre, but still, it was, certain things were really meaningless to me, and it was not my cup of tea. Let me just put it that way. So, but still, I mean, it had got international, critically acclaimed. It was internationally. And so that made me really think. I used to think that only we Indians are extremely emotional, and we try to, have that baggage, or that, love for, certain superstars, or loud, and even to brands, right? But then that was my starting point to understand what's going on, why people are really liking this. Then it appeared to me, then I went a little bit and I tried to, touch the tip of the iceberg, which was about, I started looking into storytelling. Okay. So there is definitely a lot of hard work and lot of vision that has gone into certain movies.
Absolutely. I think absolutely. I think even when you look at a movie like Pathaan, or any of those movies that we typically label as commercial, the production quality, the production effort that has gone into it is simply amazing.
Like, I was looking at the crew, it was some 35 odd people were involved in that entire action, part of the movie. So that was like too huge, and there is definitely something which is clicking with the audience as well, right? So a majority of the audience, right? So then I just went and I really tried to dig into what is all this storytelling about. What are these movies trying to tell, and why are they always following certain story structure? I'm using the word for the first time.
So basically, you're trying to imply that there's probably a method to the madness here, right?
Absolutely.
So we typically see the madness, and we say that, hey, this is an absolute masala, as we say, right? But there's probably a method, right?
Yes. And there is indeed there is a method. Okay. So all these storytellers are trying to align with the way humans react to certain stories.
Brilliant.
So it's all a mind game. Rather, they are aligning. I don't want to put it in a negative as a mind game, but they are trying to align or tell stories depending on how human brain reacts to certain way of or a structure of story, right? So it appears that all these stories follow a very strong structure of storytelling, and when you look at that particular structure, a compelling and a viable story, it has three elements. You need to establish three things for a story to become very viable, and it needs to have that engagement. So one is a hero.
Gender
when I say gender neutral, anything,
absolutely.
So it can be a dog as well. So one needs to be a hero. Then the second needs to be a strong goal. which I'll get to that.
Right.
And the third needs to be the adversary.
Right.
So the hero, which is mostly the protagonist.
So
what we call
hero, goal,
Goal,
adversary.
adversary.
So these are
Three
the
elements.
basic elements of storytelling.
Elements, yeah.
Right.
When you say that, hey, I have a great idea, I want to make a story, don't just say that, hey, okay, my hero is so on. That is not end of the story.
Okay.
You need to ensure in your compelling and viable or engaging kind of a story, you need to ensure that you have a strong, sympathetic and top of the class kind of a hero. Okay. That is part number one.
Right.
So establish that. And then second part is goal. Right. So when you're writing the story, you need not start with a goal, but the goal actually, it triggers over the time, the hero gets to a goal by a certain sequence of events or something like that. Okay. So there is a strong goal, and the stronger the goal, the challenging the goal, the engaging it gets to the audience. Right. Again, going by the emotions and going by the psychology of human beings, right? And then the adversary. Adversaries are either people, one character, two characters, or whatever. They are trying to hinder the hero
situation.
Absolutely. Trying to hinder the hero to while the hero is trying to pursue the goal. They are trying to hinder the hero from reaching or achieving the goal. So this is what basic story structure which engages the audience. Okay. So now an interesting fact here is actually hero word comes back from Greek mythology, which says that it was hero was a name of a woman actually.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a woman who used to live in a certain island, she fell in love with a guy named Leander, I believe, and then they used to meet every day in the night in that island. Okay. So one day Leander, her lover, he falls into water. And then she, to rescue him, she also, tries to jump into the water and try to rescue him. In the event, they both die. However, so that actually got twisted. So it's almost like a metaphor. So it was like a Romeo Juliet type. So hero comes from that word. So when I say hero, it need not be like a strong man, a masculine figure, but it can be any strong character, one single character. So the stronger, and as per what I generally see is the hero needs to be stronger. So even if he's a loser, he better needs to be a better loser or a great loser of his time. So these contrasting things and the adversity.
Interesting. So like for example, that's a great point, right? Because it's very easy for us to associate, let's say, a strong heroes. So we have action heroes, we have spy thrillers, we have police heroes, for example. But then you could also have, there are movies where the hero has not really been someone with positive qualities.
Like Devdas.
Devdas, exactly.
Where the older version of Devdas. I'm still in that Pathaan this thing. So the older version of the original version of Devdas, the story. So the hero, he was an absolute, I can say, loser. He didn't get anything rather. So there he was a great loser. So he had that. So it's that exaggeration. So the contrast between that heroic thing, be loser, maybe he's disabled, whatever it is, emotionally depressed. So that way of putting the protagonist in its highest form possible, and the antagonist in adversity in the highest form possible. As you said, it can be a situation as well, like extreme calamity, something like that. So that makes the conflict in the movie much more enticing. So the farther the goal goes, you have a storyline to build up. You can maybe get in more characters and all. So coming back to these like Mission Impossible, Simba, and Ek Tha Tiger kind of series, even Pathaan, they all follow the same structure. So they are manipulating, or they are actually playing around
with the same structure
brains.
Of having a hero pursuing a certain goal. Then coming up with an adversary, and typically then you would have conflicts, and you have these the struggle of the hero against the adversary or adversaries in pursuing his goal, right?
Absolutely.
So that's a typical storyline.
That's a typical structure that follows, and apparently that is what is from, let's say, 2000 years back to now, that is what our human brains can really capture.
Exactly.
You know, and they get engaged.
Yeah, from an evolutionary perspective as well. You know, these are stories that engage us. That kind of engage.
And those exaggerations, the more exaggerations, the better it works. It tricks the mind. I mean, you because end of the day, movies are motion pictures are all about, you know, creating that sympathy / empathy towards the characters. So the more emotions you have, the better.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I think it's easy to understand, not easy, but then, you know, it's a great insight that you know, there is a method to madness.
Oh yes, there is.
Right. But then it's kind of easy to associate this with you know, action movies. You know, you have an action hero, you have a villain. You know, typical combination.
Right.
What about other genres? I mean,
all genres. This applies to all genres. For example, if you look at previously the great some of the great love stories of all the time. For example, take DDLJ. I still want to continue Shahruk's thing. So Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge. So you had hero. His goal was to pursue, I mean, to marry Simran, right? And then there was a strong adversary, his dad. Her dad, sorry, and he's trying to take that away from Shahrukh as much. So his entire struggle is to pursue that goal.
And through that, I think as an audience as well, you start to develop an emotional, you know, sympathy, emotional attachment to the hero, right?
To the hero.
So that's also interesting. Like, the hero could start off as a very normal person.
Absolutely.
Right? The hero could start off as a very normal person, you know, and then, you know, you reach into a conflict stage where then the hero becomes more powerful and he starts pursuing a certain goal, and we start, as audience, we start identifying with the goal that the person is
and we start, as you said, we start developing our love, affection,
and
to
we
that
root,
particular.
we root for the hero, you know, we want the hero
most
to
times,
win.
yes, we always want the hero to win. I mean, it's more satisfying to have a climax which is in favor of the hero, because the hero has won the hearts. I mean, Devdas, for example, although he was a loser, we still wanted him to have, you know, I mean, we wanted the climax in certain way in favor of the hero.
Absolutely. So I mean, you know, even in let's say, I mean, when I look at it, I think number of the classic love stories, you know, they follow this template.
Any genre, you take any genre, that's what I'm trying to actually, you know.
I mean, now when I think about it, like Kantara, you know, the critically acclaimed Kannada movie, which I think all of us love.
Viable and critically acclaimed.
That also follows a very similar template. You have a hero, you know, comes up with conflict and his struggle around that conflict.
Right. And then you see what took it to that level is the greatness of the hero. Right, with which the struggle, the conflict, as well as the greatness to the level that they have portrayed. So in doing this, again, you need to be like DDLJ, for example, the emotions were so beautifully taken forward. So that made it more realistic. While in action thrillers, it is the action sequences that keeps you engaging, right? So more or less, it's the same. The hero,
and that is also where I feel like, for example, in the case of Pathaan, right, or in some of the other movies, when I think the importance of emotions. So when you do a lot of action, it kind of tires you off. You know, action is there, you know, as a form of expression of the hero, because in this case, you know, the person does action. But then if you don't build an emotional connect, even in an action movie, I think one of the you know, beautiful movies where I can remember where this action hero plus emotion is Sylvester Stallone's Rocky. You know, where you really, like, you know, you really, the directors have been beautifully successful in building that emotional connect with Rocky. And that underdog story, you know, how he comes up with it. So really interesting, right? That we might look at certain movies, and say that, hey, this is just a commercial, masala, commercial trash, I'm not viewing it. But we see that whether it's in Hollywood, whether it's in Bollywood, whether it's in South Indian movies, they consistently seem to follow a certain story structure
for
that
sure, yeah.
appeals to the majority.
Yes,
Right?
that appeals to the majority.
So there are indeed movies that don't follow the structure.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe some artistic
Art
movies
movies, yes.
that don't follow the structure.
Yeah.
They are critically acclaimed, but the numbers and the viewership speaks for itself.
Yes, because I feel it is not as engaging.
Right.
Like they try to show the monotonous, it gets monotonous, and the beauty lies in those art movies. For example, most of them, they show a general routine of a particular character to the detail level that the storytellers enjoy them. They want to get into the detail level of a particular character, which is not necessary to engage an audience. Like if they are showing that a hero or somebody woke up, they're brushing their teeth, ironing their shirt or something like that, that is not necessary. So majority of audience are looking for something like a surprise element. What's happening next? What's happening? I know why I iron my shirt every day. So now what's happening? So, and the context of why people go for movies as well, right? So that is where the engagement slightly falls down for people who are not towards art movies.
Exactly. And I think it's also an evolutionary thing. It's what appeals to most of us, as the race. So amazing discussion on a Friday, at least for me, on a Friday evening. As we're stepping into the weekend, as we are enjoying movies, at least personally for me, I will keep this this nugget in mind, that even when you're watching a commercial movie, it's not just
made
trash,
just
right?
like that,
Exactly. I mean, there is a method to madness. There is a certain thought that's gone behind it, and
hence the numbers.
Exactly. And there is a certain sensibility that appeals to a larger set of people, and hence that movie was made.
Absolutely.
Right. Awesome. So I think we'll just close that for now, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Friday Off Screen with Deepa and Jiju.